How's your Saturday going? How is everything for you?
It started good. I woke up and had a nice coffee. So yeah, I hope that the rest of the day would be as smooth as the morning.
Well, about that. No, not. Yeah. So for you, for people who just joining us today, I don't know if it's your first time or it's not. We are XTechnology, and we doing different technology talks, investigations, anything cool about technologies and data science or yeah, DevOps that could be as well. And today's session is something that we like that we call XT Code Hour. So basically, the idea is that we pretty much. Pretty much on the fly try to solve some issues. Well, of course we prepare, but it's still very rough format, and we eager to hear your feedback on maybe questions on the fly, so we can them answer. And the part with that we're doing with public right now is it's related to the popular framework called Remix. Heard you heard about this one. So what we're doing, we looking into this framework, and we try to understand how it works, what features it has, cool features it has. Well, of course, they have awesome documentation that I highly recommend to go through yourself. But still, it's very interesting to investigate how it works internally and what else you can achieve with that. I think we did already 2 sessions from this remix technology, right, Pavlik?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In one of them, we basically just touched the remix. We tried to build one of the projects, and the other one was already to more deep dive into that, like nested routes. We also checked the SSR possibilities of this framework. Anything else I forgot, or?
Yeah, not sure, but we also probably checked whether it worked or did not without JavaScript, and it turned out that it worked pretty well. So yeah.
Yeah, true. And I see Remix Conf. Wow, what is that? Shall we apply for it? Salt Lake City. Nice, we can go there, public. That's
That's yeah. Well, we can
yeah.
think about it.
Oh, buy tickets or become a sponsor. That also counts, right? Okay, so we are not there yet, but we're actually preparing for one of the conferences.
Yeah, we'll see what will happen before the May.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, so that was a bit of intro, and today's topic is round 3 of episode 3 of this series, and today is gonna be me presenting some stuff to you, and this part will be dedicated to Remix, and the part of it which we can call compiler probably. So we want actually to deep dive into some of the internals that Remix is working on. Of course, we have a repository where we play with all Remix related stuff, and I prepared a little bit of a page for today. So today's episode is about Esbuild Remix experiment. Yeah, spoiler alert, do it yourself, DIY. It's also called sometimes DIY. Why are we doing it yourself? Yeah, that's sort of thought. But the idea is that when I went through some of the Remix docs, I wanted to understand how it works internally, and there are a bunch of modern frameworks. SSR, we can say SSR, server-side rendering frameworks, or even not necessary SSR. Usually it's a modern JavaScript stack, like using React framework, for example, or React library. So there are a bunch of frameworks that use pretty much the same approach, which is a compiler in the middle, and then you have a lot of helpers running on the server side that help you to achieve a lot of nice results. Like, for example, like just public said, with you can run your fully React application without JavaScript on the browser, which I found very very cool. So yeah, DIY. Let's do remix today with our own hands. One of the ideas that inspired this part for me is a very famous video, series of videos, Fundamentals of Redux course from Dan Abramov. I think it's from somewhere 2016, maybe something like that. So pretty much mature material by now. But I really loved this series when I just saw them. It's like in 15 minutes you basically go from zero to building your own version of Redux. So that's what I tried to achieve with my experiment as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, anything that pops up in your mind, feel free to interrupt me, of course, ask any questions, and yeah, whatsoever.
Cool.
So,
yeah, nice.
All right, so what is gonna be about? Well, first of all, I want to understand more how Remix works, so I will try to explain it on the example application that we also showed last times, I think. And then I'm going to explain the experiment more that I was doing. It's not that much code, to be honest, but I could achieve some of the functionality that we believe Remix is also working with. And yeah, maybe some summary, like what are the leftovers, how you can help maybe, and yeah, if you try yourself, what are the problems still there. Yeah. So yeah, let's start with Remix. Again, a very nice documentation reference. They have this lot of interesting stuff in the official page, like these two, definitely recommend. Blog tutorial, app tutorial, long and short. The long one is the only drawback I see is 5 hours long or something like that.
It's really long, yeah.
But it's also a very nice deep dive. But starting from a short one, also perfectly fine. It's I like how they're structured. Yeah, for the technical explanation, it's a super nice page, but to be honest, I had to read it at least 3 times before I understand it, plus or minus some of the things that I'm gonna talk about today. So if we look at the Remix, maybe first to give a little bit of definition, well, a Remix is a framework, and a framework that it allows you a lot of possibilities. It has a lot of functionality from the box. So I think the main focus is to give a developer an ability to, again, render the modern front-end framework application also in SSR, in a server-side rendering way, and achieve basically benefit of SSR, which we know about, right? We know the benefits of SSR. We know that it's the main thing probably is the search bots, right? That's what we can the goal of SSR, right? Why are we back to SSR?
This, and also sometimes it's faster. So because you can already start interacting with the interface right after it's served, like usually as like there was this problem with the hydration when the interface is served, but it's not interactable yet. But now the frameworks can do the partial hydration, so, and it's like way faster. So yeah, now SSR is also for like user experience as well. But indeed, primary goal always was to just help search engines to get the content, because back then in the day they could not run JavaScript. Now the things I believe changed a little bit, and Chrome promised that they use always the latest Chrome, actually to scan the page and to run the page, so JavaScript should be executed. But yeah, nobody know actually what happens there. And then it's also sometimes not working with some headers or meta tags. So I believe it's partly true.
Yeah. Thanks, Public. Indeed. And these search engines, I think the problem is that they also don't want to give too much resources by rendering your application and then reading a text from it for. So they limit the resources, and that's why SSR is much more preferable.
Oh, it's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, back to SSR. I like this slogan. It should be our next workshop name, I think. Okay. That's what Remix is, and of course it has things that we're not gonna cover today. But I think the primary framework that this works upon is the React. However, it has a notion of these stacks inside the Remix framework, which allow you to customize this framework as you wish. Basically, stacks is a templating ability that you can add your own plugins and maybe build your own even Angular stack if you wish. But the primary, what is supported is React technology, and in fact the Remix was built by React Router project creators first. So yeah, React, SSR, what else? Well, a lot of functionality from the box, a lot of generators, templates, stacks, that kind of stuff. They also provide you a nice layers for the application, like you can attach easily the database layer, and that would be integrated into your application. However, database is still something aside. It's just something that they have really nice adapters inside the framework. So that's a little bit of what Remix is. Then how it works, like what's the idea behind the Remix? If you look at this page, technical explanation, it divides what is a Remix and how it works into 4 parts. A compiler, server-side HTTP handler, a server framework, and browser framework. I wanted to begin here with a Remix compiler. Maybe it's a point where I can share quickly my Visual Studio, and we can go quickly through the project.
Show us what you have, Alex.
Yeah. I think this is it. So we have. Actually, I can even go on with this presentation here. I really like this possibility of VS Code to render Markdown. Whatever. So I have this text codebox code sandbox project. We pushed it to GitHub, of course. You can find it there. I will post the link, and it's also attached to our slides here. We saw already the application that we built last time, I believe. So this is just if you start building Remix from scratch, you will get package.json. I like that one. You will have scripts that either contain Remix build or Remix serve functionality inside. Type check that doesn't need to be defined. Dependencies, in this one particular, we use a Prisma client. It should depend indeed of what application is using. Those kind of things, it's still doubtable for myself if those part of them should be actually inside dev dependencies, but doesn't matter so much for now. React and the React DOM. And then the structure of this framework is that you have to follow up some directory convention. Your application sits inside the app folder, and you have entries, client entry and server entry. You can modify them slightly to adjust your own principles of your application, but this is the generic one. So this one configures how a server would run, and it uses some some magic already, so we don't understand what's going on. But one spoiler, for example, is this one, render to pipeable stream, is something that I am about to use in the Esbuild experiment myself. This is the server entry point. The client entry point is pretty much like a React application, and the head rate root is something that allows you to attach dynamic JavaScript on a page when SSR is rendered already. What else? Well, let's see what else we got. Not these guys. These guys preview. Yeah, it has actually a nice one to pin page in the first. Yeah. All right. So what comes out of this first stage, which is React Remix compiler, and again showing that quickly. When you just start it with a Remix surf build, it will do already the compile for you. So npm run dev remix dev, that will start the build, and what appears after the build is actually these two folders, the build folder. This is a server-side part, and then the public folder, which is a client-side part. You can see that. Yeah.
Small remark. I think probably it will build when we run a remix build or npm run build. And if we just do npm run dev, it will run what we have already built.
Okay. You know what? Let's try that. Removing the folders now. Okay, and then let's see if I can just run dev. And let's see if the build folders reappear. See build here.
Oh yes, then you're right. Okay,
that's nice. So yeah, I don't want to switch back to a browser, but if I do pull, for example, from the jokes second tutorial that they had. Yeah, so build contains the server-side build, and that's already raising some questions to me, actually. Like, why do we need a build for server-side? That can be answered very easily. Actually, this is a structure of how this framework contains routes, and how it contains the client routes functionality, also the endpoints functionality, like the database accessors and that things. Maybe it's good idea to look quickly at the server side first. So what it contains. First, let's have a look at the sum of the endpoints. For example, this endpoint, jokes endpoint. This is a route / jokes, for example, in our application, and what it will bring to us, among other things, is a loader function and the default exported function. So as you can see, the default export function is nothing than a React component. So it's actually uses a JS6 syntax here, and it's almost what it is, but it actually contains additional functionality, which is calling the loader function inside this route. So if you can see here, it's using the type of notation just to bring types inside your data here, and then it actually understands what is inside this type. But what is more important is this whole functionality is executed on a server side. So imagine this is our API endpoint, and you got it. I think implicitly, we can say, in this case. So this loader will actually call the database. It will get some user, and it will populate this data inside our route. And then a route can use this data in here. We define it in one file. To me, this structure, by the way, is very like the view pages, in the sense that it combines different aspects of your front-end / web application into one file, and then this file magically compiles into something that follows completely web standards.
Yeah.
So in this in that sense, it's similar to me. So you get the data here, and then again, this page can be fully rendered on the server side with the data that it gets from this route. So that's about routes. What else do we have? React elements. Yeah, that's what we just saw. In a route, you can have a React component that defines the structure of a page. Request handlers. Yeah, that's the API endpoint that I just explained. And the manifest. So if we look at finally at the build, let's close to the right. Let's quickly look at this. Lovely code of of what Remix just built for us. So it will have a lot of things that we don't want to know about, probably. But
Most
also,
of them.
yeah, maybe all of them even. Yeah. So maybe one of the most important part here is something that is called a manifest or routes. Or even routes manifest, or just routes notation. So it for every route it actually builds. Sorry, I'm still trying to find the JSON that contains all the routes inside. Should be maybe somewhere in the bottom indeed. So it compiles routes to you. That's for example, this contains a route that contains also movies for the reviews. By the way, it uses this notation that the framework later understands, like how nested routes should be structured for you, both on server side and client side. So it combines them on implementing either client or server. Movies index, for example, here, and we were looking at jokes, right? So it should be a jokes here, routes jokes, some parent ID, some meta information, and then jokes experts, which probably contains more of a React component here, and probably there should be the loader. So to me that looks actually very not super magical. It's like some derived information from this component, like what routes it has based on a folder structure here, on a directory structure, then compiled version of React. Let's quickly look again. So this is a guy here. It's using not a React create component because it's already optimized on a build stage, but I think it should be something like that. Even if it's not a original React library, it should be very close to it, anyways. And manifest is basically routes and maybe some additional meta information that again is used on both client side and backend side.
Yeah.
Let me quickly check here. Servers that route come from the build. Adapters to transform routes to a particular HTTP server. That's a very good point. That's the part that I wanted to talk next one. So what we see here is our application declaration, basically the manifest again, right? And what ES Remix provides a user is a set of adapters that you can attach this build to. They use something like they specify it in this documentation that is following the HTTP request and HTTP response web standard class. So basically, when you build it, you define it in a very standard way, like this is gonna be the request I handle, and then it uses HTTP response class to output the answer from a server. So it's very low level output that then can be used by adapters. For example, the Express adapter, and then you start your Express server, and your Express server adapter knows how to go through these routes and how to start this add these routes to a running Express server. So that's
small question. Is there already available some other adapters, not like Express? Yeah.
a very good point. And the fact is, there are a lot of them, and not only JavaScript servers.
Okay.
Yeah, also TypeScript servers. No kidding, but I think actually it's true that in that sense it's only JavaScript servers right now, but it can be easily something else. Like I mean, they say in this documentation that they support Dino deploy functionality, and also something not 100% JavaScript related, which is, for example, Cloudflare workers. But I mean, it's hard to judge at this point, but I think it's like you can configure your Cloudflare worker to use JavaScript environment, unlike Node.js, not completely Node.js. And then they have an adapter that will translate this low-level build code into the Cloudflare workers alike Node.js ecosystem.
Yeah, that's also came into my mind that technically, like, you can continue writing the same code. It will be like loader functions, JavaScript, TypeScript, and React. But like the build step, compiler can even transpile it to Go server or Rust server. And then it's like it will be just like compiled server, compiled application, which is like entirely not JavaScript.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's completely true. Yeah, that's indeed very awesome, and that's this stacks possibility, that the stacks feature that you have to extend the remix stack for your company, for yourself. Indeed.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. I actually there are more points like that, but I chosen just one for server side, server HTTP handler. Like adapters is maybe the main one for myself right now. Yeah, and the one more here says controller and view each route can contain loader, action, and default component. I think I believe I just showed that. So they propose you this structure to combine all of the route specific functionality in one file, and then yeah, it's easier for mental modeling while you are writing your code to contain it in one small model, instead of having, for example, 3 layers, like a model layer with a database, and then you have controllers with the endpoints, API definition maybe on different stacks. So it's your logic, your business logic is scattered in across the whole big application otherwise, and it also has some benefits, but yeah, for now, for smaller projects, I think this is indeed perfect. All right, and then for a client, so that was a server. For a client, I have even less to say, but yeah, it also builds this the same code, but it builds it differently for a client application. Why does it need that? I think we already partially discussed that. So basically, when you render it, your React application to some server-side application, then it's good, but it doesn't have the benefits of SPR, right? A single-page application where you have everything dynamically, and the JavaScript engineer actually can define how to preload if he wants to preload some routes and things like that. So for that step, the Remix provides the browser build, and maybe the key feature for me here, which is not a Remix invented feature, but still the key one, is a hydration. So indeed, like first we generate the HTML markup, and then we tell React, hey React, this is a part of a page that you have to hydrate or make live, and then the client build will understand that, yeah, from this one I will need to attach some front-end logic. With one remark though, that then indeed you can run it without JavaScript completely. So in this case, the hydration would not work in the normal sense, and yeah, that's pretty much it, right, Public? Did I forget something about? Maybe you have other key features in mind that I didn't touch.
No. You explained everything like fully. A comment is that even though the hydration doesn't work, the application still works. That's an important part of the remix. Like even without JavaScript and without React on the served to the client, the application will continue working. So.
Good point. Yeah, that's very nice. Oh, works with quotes. It's also fine. And then what have I done? What have I done apart like a Esbuild experiment? Again, the goals for me were to understand better what this remix technology is about, like what it provides to you. So to play around the Esbuild and compile JavaScript code, I think understand how Remix works, that's the main one, and then play around Esbuild and compile JavaScript code, because that's always nice. And I think I'm more interested even in this step myself. Like, never touched Esbuild before. So was looking into the at least API part of Esbuild. Very cool project. I found it super at this point. And some transformation of JavaScript code. JavaScript, of course, is super dynamic, so you can do whatever you want. Literally, there, override a window. Why not? I remember the times when you could override undefined, and that was legit. Was super nice. So I didn't understand fully the whole remix structure first. So I started just writing some code. Like, okay, if I would build a remix like a framework myself, what would it be? And my first thought was, okay, I have Esbuild, so I'm gonna compile something like this structured code into the routes that I will use in my API framework, and I will also have the client built to run on React app. So that was the first drawing that I had, and then I started building it. So I chosen the Fastify app because Remix states that they don't care about the framework that is running they built server. And for React app, I had an idea that I will need it completely separate. Like I even at some point started working on the client-side application compiled with these routes. But then after we discussed it with public, I gave up this idea. So let me show you at this point what it has right now. The structure is actually it's not that much code, but it does something. So in our Remix workshop repository, you can find this Esbuild experiment folder, and then Esbuild experiment is having the turbo repo inside. So it's I just find it very joyful, this package. It allows you to scatter your packages into monorepo in like 5 minutes. It's super to me. So it has packages, and the packages first contained the dev routes client. So I wanted also to have a client React-based application that is running, and then I can dynamically attach routes to. But then I gave up this idea. I'm not doing that anymore for now. A dev route server, which does all the magic, and the Esbuild plugin itself. Three things for now. The dev routes, the Esbuild server config, which is a sort of compiler in a remix stack that we saw before, and the dev server that does both the server-side rendering for the API and for the React SSR. And the missing point, as we can see here, is still the client hydration, but I will also summarize it a bit later on. So packages, just 2 packages for now, and the app. The app is the Esbuild experiment app syntax thingy. Let's have a look at that. It's very tiny actually for now. So it has 2 keywords, we can say, supported. It has a route, which is an API endpoint, the analog of a loader in here in a Jokes TSX. So we have a loader here, and I change it for a route in my notation. Yeah. And the component, which is a React component. In here I use a JSX syntax, which just says hello world. And I also wanted to support the structure I like remix. So it has, for example, folder A with index A world, and the B route should be with a B world here. So that's the application part. The packages, next one. Let's start with a compiler. I think it follows our structure well. So first of all, how you do that is super straightforward. You have Esbuild as a dependency. I don't know why I have a dev server as a dependency to Esbuild server config. Let's find out that. But again, cheers to Turbo repo. It's just I enjoy it very much every time. Like it's so easy, and it populates all the dependencies to the upper level. You don't have to worry about anything. Everything in Node Modelist works perfect. Up to this point. So okay, that's why I have a dependency to a dev server. To add your own plugin, you have to specify it in Esbuild configuration. So what it does in terms of Esbuild, it just runs the build command inside. It has entry points, and entry points here is all the files. So this one is a low level and a manually made function. That just goes through the folder structure here, so it goes through the app. It reads all the files. This one is actually framework agnostic, so it doesn't have anything with a remix or React or whatever. So it just finds all the files, and then it filters them by JSX. It wants to exclude dist, so that's hard-coded part we don't want to discuss, I believe. And then this is my entry points, and what I'm gonna do with these entry points, this is a compilation step. So the compilation is again, I follow just Esbuild tutorial. It's very straightforward. When I load this data, when I go to a next file from my build Esbuild flow, I read a file like that. So I got a source when I'm reading the file. If I want to debug it, I can see it also in my console. And then I do some ugly transformation here. I add the source with imports. Source with imports is 1 second. It's some comments and the static import. So I needed a static import for making React work on the backend side, on the client side, side. So now it contains both. Beside that, it transforms JSX to the JavaScript. That's why I actually needed to have Esbuild originally, because of course Node.js doesn't understand JSX, the browser doesn't understand JSX, so we need to compile it. And that comes to so I attach again this import React, and then I transform everything to JavaScript, and the returning code I just output to the dist directory. So that's my very simple Esbuild compiler. We can have a look at the dist folder now. The dist folder is having the same structure, B index and A index. So if we look at the A index, for example, it attaches this import React that was expected, and the route is it doesn't change actually. The component, though, it has the React create element inside, so that's what why I needed import React from React. Yeah. Any questions on the compiler? I think that covers it.
One question in the compiled file. So did you consider also not preserving the same file structure, but just putting everything to the same file? And what is the difference? Why did you choose this way?
Yeah, it's a good one. Basically, it would be the next step if we want to continue this experiment. So, like in here in Remix build, we indeed have this everything in one file, and then on top of that, there is either the client application or server application that can render this manifest correctly. So I would say, yeah, that would be a logical next step, and that also helps to attach later on any framework that you want for your server. Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay,
so for me,
okay.
So for me, it's just would be a next step. Let's say one of the next steps.
And also, I would like just like a little bit general question about Esbuild itself. So you mentioned that it's like there is a plugin, and you explained how this plugin work. How did you find like the documentation for Esbuild? Was it difficult to build the plugin? Was it like everything clear? How would you score the
My
experience?
experience with that was awesome. Absolutely awesome. They have a very huge document for the whole like API level functionality, and I didn't need to go through all of it. So basically, I didn't even go into much details. Basically, they have all the nice exercises, examples there, and then even writing your own plugin. Yeah, you will find out during writing this the examples in the code that they have. Like, okay, I also need to check what is, for example, Esbuild transform, how it differs from Esbuild build. And it's all covered in one page. So my experience with it was absolutely amazing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
cool.
definitely recommend. Yeah, right. And it's also very fast, but I don't use this unfortunately too good in this Esbuild experiment. Yeah, before I forget, I want to add this to the problems. Maybe so, like you said, compile all the routes into single manifest, something like that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Cool.
Right. Yeah. And the other package that I have is slightly bigger, but it's not much difficult to understand as well. So it's just a dev server. And again, first I wanted to just write it as a server API, let's say API server. But later on, I also, with the help of public mind, I switched it also to serving the SSR React. So it makes sense. It has one dependency for Fastify right now, and the other one is a client-related React dependencies. Let's start with the Fastify though. Let's begin with the index probably. It's not ideally structured, but I think that's fine. So yeah, I have a server definition. This is just a simple Fastify server. It starts it on the port 3000, and I exported one small function from it, which says, for this pass I want to add this handler, and as you can see, I could even avoid that just by using Fastify get in my or something like that. But I decided to abstract it a little bit. So that's a Fastify server, and then again, if we look at the index first and then go to search, a lookup, it's called. So this is what we already saw. That's just utility. and that helps you to walk through the files and print the structure of a folder to you. It's an exercise that I ask my students always to do, by the way. Now I had to choose the best work for that implementation. Always hard to choose the best one. Okay, so I find the routes. If some simple logic to start a server, and then I say add routes. And what the add routes does, it follows, finds all the files. It filters them by not using. Actually, this one already goes through the dist folder, right? So this one goes through the dist folder, and it relies on a structure of files. Again, that should be changed when we output our build into one file. So this is the structure of folders, and then for each route, for each file here, I transform the file into URL, which is again some utility, can be output to other file as well. Like I do some simple logic. Okay, is it in dist? I should start from this. This can be my route, my root URL. Then, if it's index, I just change it for slash. That's what it does basically. So I go through this directory dist here. And then this is maybe the most important step at the dev server. So what I do here, I export it from a file here. So I export just two keywords, like I said, a route, which is going to be my API route, and the component, which is my React rendered page in this sense. And then I add a route for the API, this guy. So this is just running the Fastify get or Fastify could be more customizable. I put an URL there, and the action route will be just this function. So this is my callback, and it can get a request and reply, how Fastify supports it. So it will call by this URL, this callback, and that way it would work. For the React, this is that I also touched a little bit in the beginning. So that's the trick that makes the React SSR rendered. In the index.js, the output of remix, where is it again? This guy, you will see something different, render to pipeable stream functionality. So that's the next step again for me. I wanted actually to implement it first like that, but it had a little bit problems. Let me explain it quickly. So what it does here, I basically generate by the component of the server-side rendered, the HTML, and then I just send it by this route. Very, very simple step. So what problem did I have with render it as a pipe? For a quick explanation, the piping functionality is much better, much more performant. Basically, it allows you to split text or the response or request into some small chunks of data, and then it has a lot of benefits. For example, it doesn't take memory while running your app, and also same for a browser, which can parse them as soon as they get a new portion of chunks, for example. So why I could not use it? I tried to, but my first experience was that just because of how Fastify supports pipes, that was my understanding. So in a nutshell, in here I have to say reply send. It's already not pure streams in Node.js sense, and I believe it should not be a big problem. It's just in a limited time that I had to play with it. I could not use this a little bit customized streams correctly with a Fastify. I believe with Express it should be much easier. So if I use Express, for example, I would probably could achieve that. And let me open it one more time. Render to pipe stream. Yeah, in this one, it's a little bit obfuscated code, but you can see here that it has a structure like it first calls the render to pipeable stream, and then it has some callbacks. Like when it's ready, you basically need to pipe the result to body. So that's a part where I could not combine it with Fastify, and I think it will be easier with Express or just Node.js streams functionality. Okay. So far so good. Maybe I should show them before I go to a summary, right? Let's do that. I didn't think it through actually first. I need to also show it. Wow, that's interesting. I have a script to build my application. Okay, so I need to go to the app folder. Okay, and I defined some scripts here: build server and start server dev. I think start would not work at this point. It's quite a dynamic code right now. So first I need to rebuild my app folder, and that will use just esbuild server config that I started with. npm run build server, and voila, it does this directory, and then we have start server dev. And it does not work. No, it's very. I know why it doesn't work. I'll just kill it. No worries.
It said that this remix application is still running.
I tried to kill it so many times, but it's still running. It's like you see
how good is it? It's unkillable.
Yeah, exactly. How robust and stable it is. npm run. Now, last week we had a stream with Andrew, and Andrew always have problems like that, so I'm not the one to blame. Okay, so it's running. I might want to switch to another terminal. Remix workshop. It's not that fancy output, so maybe we can just do it in terminal indeed. Hello Index Vault, this is my React component, and maybe that is not that cool looking as in browser, but you can see that it's actually content type text HTML, and if I do just /API, I think it will be just not found, as you can see. No, it should be found. Let me switch to a browser quickly. Maybe we will explore more than this.
Is it API something or
I think it should be API something indeed. Yeah. Localhost 3000. This is that.
If you are trying to do something, it's currently a different browser that is shared.
Okay. Luckily, it's still Remix, our project there. Thanks. Yeah, I got it working. Yeah, so indeed, it's a bit API, and then can be just API Vault. This is index. API I is not found. Probably should be something like that. Yeah, and this is a index, and then API B without trailing slash, API B Vault, and without API it's gonna be hello B Vault. So my React application, sort of application rendered to a route. Yeah, it's a trailing slash. I can handle that in my build. yeah, if it would be anything interesting, I would tell you, but it's actually very, very simple route here.
That looks awesome, huh? Like,
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. Thanks.
that's,
uh, right. So we are almost an hour. So yeah, I think we, if we would have half an hour, I would try to write more functionality. At this point, let's do summary. So as we could see, is how I at least understand for myself. The remix compiler step produces the browser build and the server build, and the server build allows you to have adapters, and it also produces a lot of stuff, like combined route logic and React SSR, and the browser build allows you to get hydration. In this picture here is I put link into the what I think is partially implemented with the Esbuild experiment. So with the browser build, well, it's not fully browser build, but I have a server-side rendered React elements. Maybe it makes actually more sense to keep them inside a server HTTP handler, but yeah, that's the way how I structure it for now. For server side, it's more touched. So we have actually rendering all the routes with the React elements, with the request handlers. The only thing is not supported is indeed the loader that you mentioned, public. And instead of adapters for browser for framework agnostic functionality, I have just one server implemented. But again, if we do this step with adapters, then it would be easily adaptable by other frameworks as well.
yeah, looks awesome, huh? So it's a really cool experiment, and it's indeed like the explanation of the compiler. Did you have a chance to take a look also at the compiler of Remix? Is it working like similar? Is this like very different there?
Yeah, a little bit. Of course, I didn't dive too much, but yeah, it looks to me similar. I probably will not show it right now, but what I could see, it actually also has a bunch of Esbuild plugins, and these Esbuild plugins can transform the JavaScript and analyze it, and they use yeah, they of course have a nicer structure, and it also lots of layers there that helps you abstract all the data. But I would say it looks very. The idea at least is the same. It's just the structure of a compiler. It's hard to compare at this point because it's a lot of effort put there.
Yeah, but at least it solves exactly the same problem. So essentially, I think that like their approach is quite similar. So like because it's a compiler. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice,
Indeed.
nice.
Nice.
Really great. It was like really like after all this like explanation, and some things were like difficult, some it was like really nice and fun to see that that's actually working. Everything is working. So you can go to the route and it renders HTML, then you can go to the API and you see the JSON. So it's like incredible. Huh?
Yeah. Indeed. Thanks for that. Yeah, like maybe quickly, the next steps that might be improving these things is indeed load data from endpoint loaders. So instead of having different routes for A and API A, we could have just A with loaded data inside. And I think the structure of a compiler right now easily allows to render it on server side. But yeah, it needs still an implementation. Yeah, I wouldn't go through all of them, just some interesting ones. The add virtual machine context for importing routes and components, as I showed, it's right now doing very dirty trick. It just imports the route and the component from that file, and that's not good, right? It's not what you want. might affect your compiler, it might affect your server. So what you want is at least run it in a clean environment. Luckily Node.js you have this VM built-in module, so I thought it might be a good idea to use this one. Includes some again hard-coded stuff. It should be a very simple one. And maybe the last to talk about is streams. So yeah, that's actually Public's proposal to use streams because it has a super big potential inside, right? Which is a server-side rendered components and then streaming them to browser. Yeah, I checked one video. Highly recommend this. DIY also by Jack Harrington. He actually explains how it might work for no JavaScript in a browser and the hanging connection with a HTTP from a server side. So it pulls the data, and as soon as it appears, it will just just render part of an application, which is very nice when, for example, you have a long API request from server side.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's very cool. I definitely recommend to watch this one, for example. And hydrate React on a client side, so it would make this legit, this picture more legit. All right.
Awesome. Good job. Really nice experiment. Really nice result of it. This experiment.
Thanks, Public, for all your help, by the way. It's a cheers to you. And
my pleasure, as always.
Nice. For our viewers today, thanks for watching. If you like it, please share with your friends and family.
Like, subscribe, and the bell. That's
yes, and the bell. Yeah, indeed. Share with your family. Show your small children this remix experiment. They will like it, and have fun with the weekend.
Yes, have a beautiful weekend.